to bring today's episode to the podcast talking all about skin health. When you're on the fertility journey, we may not feel that the health of our skin has any connection, but this is definitely a clue for us to dig deeper so we can improve our preconception health. So if you have eczema, dermatitis, if you're dealing with hives, if you're dealing with rashes, if you have acne, psoriasis, if you're doing with rosacea, we're talking all about this and how you can then heal your body and improve your skin and get pregnant. Excited for you to listen. Let's go. Hey, Sururat. Excited to have you on the podcast.
Hi, Sarah. How are you doing today?
I'm great. If you could share with us really how you came to do this work.
Wow. So I am a biochemist. My past life, I was a biochemist, and I did drug formulation and analysis. And then started to go up to medical school, became a PA, and went into dermatology. But prior to that, I did primary care and urgent care. I went into dermatology because I love skin. And so along the way, I met a patient that came in that had inflammatory skin disorder. And when I asked him how he was doing, he told me that he was fine. I was surprised. What do you mean you're fine? He said he was advised not to eat something that was flaring him up. And that was my first time hearing that there was something that was triggering his inflammatory skin disorder. So I started doing research about what is he talking about. I got into more holistic medicine and found my way towards functional medicine. And I started studying functional medicine, fell in love with it, and the rest is history. The reason why skin is because I myself, I've suffered from inflammatory skin disorder as a child, as a preteen, and it was devastating. And for years, I used creams on my skin day and night. And it did subside, but it never went away. So it took a while for me to look into my own health and my own skin routine. And I started being more mindful of what I was doing and what the triggers were. And so at that time, I realized some things that were triggering me, and I took them out of my skincare routine, out of my diet, and that helped me a lot. And so my love for what skin and my own personal story and my love for functional medicine is what has brought me to this stage.
Oh, I love it. Awesome. Yeah, it's usually our pain to purpose kind of story, right? We're like, how did we end up doing this? It certainly wasn't probably when you were going through medical school, it probably wasn't on your radar to be like, okay, I'm going to focus all on skin. So let's talk. So people that are on the fertility journey, we see a lot of people because we help people that have premature ovarian insufficiency, diminished ovarian reserve, low AMH, high FSH. Typically, they've been told they either rush to IVF or they got to do medicated cycles, or maybe they got to do a PRP. And they'll sort of say, oh, and by the way, I've had acne my whole life, or I've got these hives, I got this weird skin rash, or I've got like eczema, but not thinking any of this is connected. So let's talk about, someone that's on the fertility journey and they have these skin issues, like, why does that matter?
Oh, it does a lot, because a lot of them probably already had the skin issues as teenagers, or even preteen nowadays. And the reason why it matters is already a sign, is a clue to what's going on, the overall health. I always say the eyes are the window to the soul. The skin is the window to the whole health. So when you start having acne and you just either ignore it or just put a cream on top of it, without really looking deep to see what's going on the inside, because it's inside out. So acne is one of the signs of PCOS. Not just any acne, but those recalcitrant acne that are hard to treat, that never go away. Those are the ones that you should be concerned about and start looking and say, what's going on with your hormonal balance? And that's coupled with irregular menstrual period, that even just another a biggest clue. If you start to have what's called hirsutism, hair growing in the wrong places, on the face, the axilla, and the groin area, that's another sign that there's a hormonal balance going on, and that could be an issue later on when you're trying to conceive.
I had great skin in my teen years, like nothing, not even one pimple, probably one pimple, but like nothing that really impacted me. Then all of a sudden in my early 20s, I started getting all this acne around my chin area. I went to the doctor. They're like, wow, I think you should go on the pill. So I went on birth control. And then when I came off, like at that point, my cycles were irregular. They were like extremely heavy in my teen years. Then they came very irregular, as in they were coming twice a year. I actually thought that was great because I didn't have to deal with the fainting and all the bleeding through the pads and all this, stuff that's, mortifying as you're a teenager. And then the acne came along, went on the pill, and then I came off, and then I was diagnosed with premature ovarian insufficiency, and I went on to have both my kids with donor eggs. But for me, there was a skin issues, and not until years later when I, looked at the diet piece and figured out the diet that was right for me. Then I looked at gut infections, and then stress piece did all this acne for me start to go away. So if someone is dealing with acne right now, adult acne, what are some let's talk about maybe the diet part of that. What does that look like? Because a lot of times people they have done all sorts of things from creams to lotions to potions, that like everything to help this. And so, yeah, where should we start with diet?
So my philosophy is gut skin connection. So whatever you put in your gut is going to come out on your skin sooner or later. So when it comes to diet, is trying to focus on anti-inflammatory foods that works for you. So I don't believe in one size fits all. Everybody eats banana. I cannot eat banana. So always think about, I don't care whether it's organic. I don't care if it came from, it doesn't matter where it comes from. It has to be something that you try on that works well for you. So avoid a lot of sugary foods. Sugar increases inflammation, also increases insulin resistance. So that can add more to combination to what's going on. So you want to watch out for inflammation and insulin. You want to have more balanced fibers. You want fiber. You want to make sure you have a good soluble fiber, insoluble fibers. You want to make sure you have enough hydration. Even no matter how much you're eating, is also what is very important that we ignore sometimes is how you eat. Sitting down and eating your food while you're rested is as important as eating the right food. So again, inflammatory fruits, vegetables, avoid excessive sugar, avoid the seed oil. Sometimes those seed oils can add more inflammation to your body. And trying to eat at a regular time, not 3 hours, nothing before 3 hours before you go to bed. Because then instead of your body digesting the food, instead of your body resting and repairing, it's not trying to digest the food while you're sleeping. So those are one of the most factors that we forget, we don't talk about. Yes, you can have Mediterranean diet, that's great. But are you sitting down and eating, or are you running a marathon while you're eating? Are you chewing your food all the way? Or are you drinking like 2 cups of water while you're eating? That's also very important, because that then dilutes your acid, and acid cannot do its job. So I always say drink 30 minutes before you eat, and maybe 30 minutes to an hour after you eat. Don't drink water while you're eating. Sit down and eat your food. Smell the food. Smell the aroma, so you can start developing an enzyme so that your body can work for you. So those are the little pieces when it comes to food. It's exactly.
It is funny with that water thing. When you go to a restaurant, right? The first thing they do, they put water down. They want you to guzzle water while you're eating, I guess. It's for years. This is crazy what I used to do. Like as a kid though, you drink your milk with your dinner. And I'm like, I don't do dairy, gluten, or corn. Like I am like really highly intolerant to dairy. There I was for years pounding down my dairy. And then obviously it's fine. Then it reached to like a tipping point where some of these foods just don't, no longer are working for us. And as we start to heal the gut, you can bring most of the foods back in, but sometimes maybe they're too high inflammatory for you, and it's, causing issues. So what about let me just back it up. What about like leaky skin? So we've heard of leaky gut where people, antibiotic use, high stress, maybe around birth control, that can impact the health of the gut microbiome. And then next thing you know, you do a food sensitivity test and you come back intolerant to spinach or every last thing that you're eating. I remember doing one where I was eating avocados and fish and tomato, everything. I was intolerant to everything. As I healed the gut, I could bring most of it back in. But so let's talk about leaky skin, where people like everything they're doing is they've got issues all over their skin. Like what are you like seeing there with that?
Yeah. So before I even talk about that, I forgot to talk about mention dairy earlier. So dairy is one of those things that I honestly don't understand why we consume dairy at all. Because first of all, it's not our dairy. We're only supposed to get dairy from our moms, not from a cow. And it has a lot of growth hormones. So definitely it increases our hormonal imbalance. So that's one thing I always say, why? Oh, for cereal, why do you eat cereal? Where did cereals come from? So that one, I want to make sure I touch about that. Research has shown that dairy does increase hormonal imbalance, which does contribute to acne. So if you can avoid it, please do.
It is funny with the cereals, right? Where we're like, oh, we start our day with cereal. How horrible. Like with the milk and all that carby stuff in there. Yeah. And then I think didn't Kellogg's just recently came back and now they wanted to have a campaign to have cereal for breakfast. Cereal for dinner. And we're like, you shouldn't be having cereal for breakfast, let alone having it for dinner. You're just eating $10 box full of empty calories and garbage. People went crazy on that.
You want to know the difference between cereal is you want to go to Europe and look at their cereal content, a box, what's in it, and look at ours. Big difference. And that's why I was like, okay, well, this is not okay. It's the same cereal. Why is the ingredients different from US and Europe? So I was like, normal. With regards to leaky gut and leaky skin, everything leaks, even lungs. A lot of times we think our reaction on our skin only comes from what we eat, but majority of the time it comes from what we touch. And the skin is supposed to be a barrier that also allows certain things to come in and keep things out of the body. But when we start to have, especially things like a lot of dehydration, a lot of cosmetic products that we put on that causes, I don't want to call them holes because you cannot see the holes, but dismantles the barrier, the protection that the skin has. We have to remember that the skin is our biggest organ. It covers the whole body. So when you start to have this barrier destruction, that means anything on the outside can go in. And when it goes in from the outside, it goes straight into the bloodstream. See, when it goes into the mouth, it goes into the gut and the the HCl, the enzymes, they all do their job to protect you. But on the skin, other than the skin barrier, there's not much protection. It goes straight into the bloodstream. So a lot of times the reaction is a lot higher. There's a lot of research right now that says a lot of kids that parents don't want to give them something orally are getting reaction from just touching things like peanuts and other things from cafeteria and all that stuff. So that's where the leaky gut comes in. So what we put on our skin also goes in, but remember, there's no protection of the gut when it goes in. It goes straight into the bloodstream. So the reaction is a lot more, usually faster and sometimes worse. So I would say if you cannot put it in your mouth, don't put it in your skin.
Yeah, it's interesting kind of with those, when you have an acne issue, right? And then you go and use those products that just like strip and I remember like my face being like so dry and I'm like putting on all this stuff to kill the bacteria there. You're told you got to do this and go do facials and other sort of stuff. And my skin was like just stripped of all the beneficial, I guess, bacteria on there as well. And what do you say about some of that stuff, those recommendations?
One of the first things I tell people is this exfoliation. It's supposed to be a thing to exfoliate. And I was like, why are you exfoliating? What are you trying to do? Take the layer of the skin off? Because what happens is everything is in balance. When you over exfoliate your skin, it makes it extra dry. But guess what the body does? It's like, oh my gosh, we're too dry. So it makes more sebum. So it's counterproductive to what you're already doing. Yes, you want to kill the bacteria on the skin, but you don't want to overdo it either. You want to use a mild product that is beneficial, not something that's going to strip and cause more acidification of your skin and over damage the barrier. So I know, yes, when I was in conventional medicine, we've used benzoyl peroxide and we've used like tretinoin and all that stuff. And I always tell people, like when I prescribe it to my clients, my patients, I say, use it slowly. You want to use 1 pea for the whole face. I have people come in and put like 2, 3, 4 peas size on their face. Like, that's too much. And I always tell them, start out slowly and then gently increase. And if that's too much, back it up. Because the skin is very sensitive, especially on the face. But sometimes we overindulge and causes more damage on the other side of the equation.
And what about if someone's just got a skin rash? Like you've got the eczema or the dermatitis, or you just got let's talk about rash, and then we can maybe talk about hives. Like, what are you seeing with rashes?
With rashes, again, back to the gut. A lot has to do with the gut because your body has all the tools, amazingly, to deal with any issue that comes in, at least 99.9% of the issues that comes in. However, when the body does not have what it needs to protect you and defend you, then you start to get a reaction. So a lot of the eczemas and the dermatitis comes from inflammation. And inflammation has to do with something that we're doing that our body does not like, or that we don't have the tool for our body to counter whatever it is. So that has to do with an imbalance in the immune system, because the immune system is like, I always think of it like, I'll use the military. You have different factions of the military that has their own function. And let's say there's nothing going on, and all of a sudden, all the factions are all geared up for the fight, but there's no fight. That's kind of like what inflammation is. And inflammation is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing because you want your body to be ready in case there's something coming up, but you don't want to be over ready when you're supposed to be sleeping. You want to be relaxed when it's time to relax and fight when it's to fight. So when you start having things like inflammation and showing up on the skin because the gut is unhealthy or the microbiome is unhealthy or it's too much or too little, that's usually what leads to a lot of skin rashes.
Yeah, we see a lot of people that are on the fertility journey and they have the eczema, the dermatitis. They've been dealing with this for years, scratchy, like things on their eyes or their elbows or their arms or their hand, like all that. And as they start to take out those inflammatory foods, work on the gut, lo and behold, the skin improves, and so does the cycle. And then they get pregnant. So it's all connected. Instead of doing that topical approach, it's like digging deeper. I think it's more and more out there, but I still think people end up like I was in Sephora the other day. I'm like, I could not tell you how many people were in Sephora. I'm like, what are people literally running around getting all these products? I'm like, and then they do have a way bigger clean beauty section there at Sephora, which is nice. It's like years I used to be like hunting for one little product, and now they have a whole wall because of the demand for
Yeah.
clean beauty, not putting all this 85,000 chemicals that we're all exposed to, all of that piece. But okay, so let's dig into for the what about hives? If you're like just seem to getting
So
hives, like,
hives, a lot of times, not all the time, a lot of time has to do again back to the gut, histamine intolerance. There are certain people that again from inflammation where usually when you have a lot of histamine, your body can break it down and get rid of it through detoxification. But either sometimes it might be a genetic predisposition, sometimes it's just excessive amount of intake of histamine, and or there's another enzyme that's not functioning, like DAO is not functioning right to get rid of it. And so you have a buildup of histamine. So I have that histamine overload can cause not just hives, can even cause migraine, can even cause joint problems, joint pain because of that overload. And a lot of times, once you get rid of that histamine and bring it back to balance, again, remember what I said, I love balance, then the body's like, oh, okay, we're good. But it's usually a sign, a communication from the body saying something is off. Let's take care of it. That's how I see hives. Most skin is even acne. Acne, whether it's psoriasis, is always a communication to us that something's off, fix it.
which is a good thing, right? Because you have something to it. Because a lot of times people are on the fertility journey, they don't have a period or the period's irregular. Maybe they've gone through multiple IVFs, nothing's working, and then they have this acne or they have this like this. I just had someone the other day telling me finally the rash on my finger that I've had for years, like for years, this rash has been gone, is now gone. And she's, and so it's all connected. And we see a lot of people with nutrient deficiencies. So what are you seeing with nutrient deficiencies and skin, and what are some of the top things that you see that are deficient?
Remember I said that earlier, I love gut. The reason why a lot of times is, again, two things. Either they're not consuming enough because our food is devoid of nutrient. They're on the SAD diet, the standard American diet, or there's something going on in the gut that what they're eating, the organic, well-cooked, home-cooked food that they're eating is not being absorbed. So they have either malabsorption or maldigestion, which could come from something called dysbiosis or leaky gut. So you put it in and it's just coming out. So those are one of the reasons that a lot of people have nutrient deficiency. And we say, like, sometimes I think I hear it and it doesn't have the importance that I know it does need to carry with it. Because imagine if you don't have enough nutrient to convert your thyroid hormone to the inactive to inactive, now you have thyroid problem. If you cannot convert you have iron, so now iron is not working well. Now your red blood cell is not functioning right. Now you have anemia. If you have anemia, or maybe now you don't have enough vitamin D, so now you have vitamin D deficiency, which helps the immune system. So for me, nutrient deficiency is so important because it's like a cascade or one of those domino effects that you're not getting enough iron, enough zinc, enough magnesium, and it just adds up and adds up. And at the end of the day, you look at a case and you're like, how did this happen? And I always think the gut. Let's go get rid of the junk in the gut, repair the gut, and now the body starts to do what it needs to do. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, because you can be well fed but malnourished, right? I'm eating all this great diet, but you're not absorbing any of the nutrients because of the issues with the gut. And yeah, we see thyroid dysfunction across the board with people we work with. We see anemia. We did a podcast all on iron deficiency is one of our top ones because so many people are dealing with iron issues, and then magnesium, where like our soil, there's nothing left in it, and then more than 80% of us, or maybe more, are deficient in magnesium, and so to be able to supplement it with it, it's hard to get it from our soil. And what about zinc? What are you seeing with zinc and skin issues?
Oh my God, zinc is, sometimes this brings me back to my biochemistry days. Zinc is every mineral they're all so important because they don't only function in one area of the body, they function throughout the body. Just like every hormone functions throughout the body, and they're all interconnected. Zinc helps our immune system. Zinc's also part of the methylation process, so detox system. So zinc is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. So a lot of times people they have low in zinc and then they get sick all the time. They get a cold all the time. They're inflamed all the time because the body cannot do what it needs to do. So I get a cold all the time. I have upper respiratory infection every 2 weeks. I was in that position. Like every week, every month, I was like, I don't understand why I get cold every month or every 2 weeks. One goes away, another one comes. Probably zinc is low. So zinc is not able to protect you from all this junk coming in. And we're not even aware of it. Instead, we just keep taking over-the-counter cold supplements when what we needed to do was figure out, okay, I need zinc, add zinc to your diet. And your body's like, okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So zinc, every mineral, magnesium, as you said, does over 300 functions in the body. Vitamin D is not just it's not a vitamin, it's a pro-hormone. It has function in every aspect of our lives. So I don't think one mineral is better than the other one. They're all equally vital to our health.
I was just doing a Facebook Live and someone came on and said, I get sick all the time. I'm always getting colds. Obviously, she'd been through multiple failed IVFs and she'd had a recent pregnancy loss. And yeah, like looking at the health of the gut microbiome, your food, and does she need, more zinc? Obviously, some of these are like generalized recommendations. Is really important to, like, as we know, like, it's to be able to look at the testing, what's the data, because you can do a whole bunch of, I'm going to throw this at it, throw that at it. Then you just start like DIY only gets you so far. So to have a guide to really help you is crucial, right? Because you can just have expensive urine. Maybe you don't need it.
No, absolutely. Everyone needs to get professional help because you think you know it, you want to DIY. And sometimes by DIYing, you're actually making things worse because not everyone that has frequent cold needs zinc because maybe the zinc is not being metabolized correctly. Maybe they need support of the zinc. Maybe the zinc is getting in. And if you take too much zinc, now you're depleting copper, which causes another problem. So again, I go back to when I realized this, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. Life is all about balance, moderation and balance. Not about, oh, I need to drink more of this. I always laugh when I see some YouTube channels and they say, oh, if you do this, add this to your water every day, it will do this. I'm like, how? How? Because we are all individual. And that's what I love about functional medicine, that no one is the same as the other person. And so when I'm looking at a case, I'm like, who is this person I'm talking to? Because somebody can take pills. I don't like taking pills. So if you give me all the pills in this world, I'm like, okay, great. Sit in a cabinet. But if you know who I am, then you give me what I'm going to take that's going to make me feel better. So it's N of one.
Exactly. Yeah. And the vitamin D, we see that low. Like people are being told it's normal. It's over 30, like between 60 to 80. You know, people like regularly in the teens or in the single digits. And then the methylation piece where people are taking folic acid and then all your foods that are, enhanced with folic acid or enriched with folic acid, which you want to make sure you're taking, methylated methylfolate and, methyl Bs. We do genetic testing too, so you can then look at your gene variants. What are those targeted diet and lifestyle and supplement recommendations? I just interviewed someone this morning where we've had a genetic test for the last 3 years, and now we're just changing it to another one that's even better. We're super excited to be able to customize do you need support with the D, the inflammation, the methylation, the detoxification, all of this piece where some simple strategies. And like you said, it's not about you pounding down a whole bunch of supplements. It can be some simple lifestyle strategies, some diet things you can do to improve that. What about anything else you wanted to say on the skin microbiome? Anything? What kind of infections are you typically seeing as it relates to the skin and in the gut?
Skin and the gut. So one of the most common one, because I focus more on like eczema, psoriasis, and acne. So acne, of course, comes with infection, because sometimes not just popping it, but it itself is an infectious dynamic, an inflammatory dynamic. But eczema is one of those ones that we see a lot of staph colonizing on the skin. So the skin microbiome, again, comes back to this barrier and giving the skin what it needs, proper hydration, proper the right moisturizer for the skin. Because we always think the skin is this very basic structure, but it's acidic. So we're using all these harsh soaps on our skin. I mean, sometimes the good and bad time when you use a harsh soap, you use a good moisturizer to balance it out. But a lot of time people will use harsh soap and they use all this acid and put on their skin, which strips off the barrier and also gets rid of the microbiome and allows bacteria and things to grow like something like subderm, the fungal infection. I have people that come to me, even in conventional medicine, like, oh, I don't know what happened. I'm like, no, your body's fine. It's just like a village, when somebody moves out, somebody else moves in. So when you get rid of all the good bacteria because you're stripping it and you're washing it off and you're using all these acids, you're going to have overgrowth of fungal elements. It's just part and parcel of what life is about. So just like we want to keep our good microbiome in our gut, we need to keep our good microbiome on our skin by using the right products and not stripping our skin of the layers and the barriers that it needs to protect us.
And what kind of skincare routine are you looking at there? Are there certain products or ingredients that you don't want to see, and the ones you do want to see? What are you recommending?
So I always, when I go buy my product, I look for paraben, off. Sodium lauryl sulfate, off. Phthalates, off. There's some PEGs, polyethylene glycol products that I've said off. I will look at the ingredients. If it has things that, even as a biochemist, I don't remember that chemical, off. So I try to go to things that I can actually read and understand, if possible. And sometimes it's hard, Sometimes it's hard to, and petrolatum, off. And that even came way before I became a functional practitioner. I was like, why would I want, because I remember in high school, we went to a refinery and saw how petrolatum was made. And I was like, why would I want to use the petroleum waste on my skin? So then I will switch that with shea butter. And some people don't like shea butter. I understand that, but I always shoot. There's mango butter. There's all these natural elements that I can use. So I look for that. And I look for, even with soap, the same ingredients. If I see anything that's too harsh, I put it aside. So, and I don't base it on, okay, this is the best moisturizer. Like I usually, even my conventional medicine, I look for moisturizer that was good for my neighborhood. So, and I recommend it to my patients and my clients, try this. But I always tell them, test it out. Whatever you buy, test it out on an unexposed area, maybe for 2 or 3 days, depending on how sensitive you are. If you cause a reaction, out. Because the whole family is using a product doesn't mean the child has to use it or the father has to use it, the mother. Everybody has their own skin. So I always tell my parents, test it out. But everybody's, okay, but that's everybody. That's not this child. Just test it out on yourself before you purchase it. Or get a sample if possible and test it out.
Yeah, I like shea butter. I use that all over my body. It's from my friend has a company. She gets it from, I think, Eastern Uganda.
Okay.
It's really, there's 2 types, I guess. One is harder, hers is softer. I just get it in this big tub and lather myself up, and I use different like face care, but from that shea butter, like it's just you see people that use it regularly, their skin is glowing.
I get it from Nigeria.
Do you? Okay, yeah.
At home, I just bring it, buckets of it.
Bucket, exactly, right? Yeah.
Because I make my own products sometimes. I'm going to start a line hopefully soon
Oh, nice.
because I just like natural stuff to help the skin. Having eczema myself and having a whole family of atopy.
Okay.
My daughter just developed hers not long ago. And so because she's not here, she's in boarding school. And I'm like, okay, you need to moisturize. She's like, oh, Mom, I realized I got it because I didn't moisturize it. Okay, I think I taught you well enough. Moisturize your skin.
Then what about the mental emotional side of this? With people, like when you've got something on your face, I even know when I used to have those pimples and then they turn into cystic acne, and I'd be like, oh my God, everyone's looking at it. No one, first of all, no one's looking at it. They don't care. But there's a lot of shame. There can be negative feelings. Like if your whole face is covered or you've got rashes when you're, exposing your skin, there's a lot of like negative feelings you may have about this. So how would you approach that piece for people?
So for my clients, it's about mindfulness. And I know firsthand how this feels as a preteen developing eczema. My mom sent me back to go wash because I didn't wash well, and which made it worse, unbeknownst to both of us. Is that it's not you. Your body is not broken. Because that's the first thing I thought. Something's wrong with me. Why do I have this? Amongst my cousins, everyone else, why do I have this thing? And I thought I was broken. But it's not you. And so the first thing is like going through that. I have a group class. So going through that and saying, you're not the only one. We're all going through this. And it's not you, it's what's going on with your body. And actually is a sign for your body telling you to change certain things. It's a communication. And don't worry about what anybody else is saying. I've had people that came to me and told me to write them a note that their psoriasis was not contagious. That was heartbroken. I was heartbroken that day. I was like, no, it's not contagious. or it's because I ate this, or because I did that. I'm like, no, that's not why. There are other reasons why. These are the things you can do about it. So having that mindfulness, doing some meditation, breath work, and helping them through that anxiety, because it is an anxiety. I'm not depressive. I want to understand that it's not something that they did wrong, and they can change what's going on, and they have the power. They are the hero. I'm just the guide to guide them through this. And that I feel like that helps a lot. That goes a long way to say, okay, what do we do next? And my goal is always to educate, inspire, and empower them to change and heal themselves.
Yeah, it is, right, because people start thinking there's nothing they can do, especially when you're on the fertility journey. Then you're dealing with all these skin issues, and then you got maybe gut issues, and you're circling around trying to figure this out. You got a doctor telling you better rush to IVF, and you pump your body full of hormones. Maybe you have a chemical pregnancy or a pregnancy loss, and then you keep going and going. And every time a birthday comes along, you're not celebrating your birthday. You're devastated. Each month, you're trying and then it's not working. And in this case, like we're talking about today, you could be having eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, hives, rashes, something going on. Actually, one more thing on that. But there's things you can do. There's things you can do. You're in a very powerful position, to make change. And it's about hiring the team around you, not just in this case, for fertility, we go right to the REI. There's things to really work on your health, and that helps your pregnancy, the health of your children, your children's children. So to me, you're in a very powerful spot. One other one I was just thinking about was, what about rosacea? What's your take on that one?
Back to the gut. What's in the gut and what's growing in the gut? A lot of time rosacea has to do with, dysbiosis or SIBO going on in the gut. And what SIBO is basically an overgrowth of something growing that is not supposed to be there, growing there. And I always like to look at, do they have hypochlorhydria, maybe low stomach acid? Do they have H. pylori that's allowing this to happen? Or is it just that the body is not able to get rid of certain bacteria? Or are they having overgrowth of, or maybe the bacteria that's in there that's decided to go to town is now having a lot of LPS, a lot of waste that's dumping that can also cause lupus. So, and other autoimmune diseases. So rosacea, a lot of times, people think, yes, alcohol might make it worse, spicy food might make it worse, all the things that can make it worse. But that's not what's causing it. It's the gut again. Back to the gut again. What is it? I always say, my teacher always says it too, you are not just what you eat, you are what you eat, digest, absorb, excrete. So it's so crucial. And I think, and that's what I love about the gut so much, is I feel like it has answers to almost everything, because 80% to 85% of our immune system is in our gut. So if something's going on with the body somewhere, the gut is involved. And the gut communicates with the brain. So sometimes that anxiety and depression that we're having because of everything that's going on is because the gut is not healthy.
Absolutely. We see with the neurotransmitters, and we're chasing around taking SF, our eyes, and thinking we've got this anxiety, depression, or mood disorders, mood swings, it's impacting our relationship, and we're feeling irritable and all these sort of things. And maybe there's hormone imbalance, but as we start to heal the gut, then the anxiety, depression, and all that sort of stuff starts to improve. Sometimes you need medication to help you, but all of these things are just Band-Aids. And it's like to be able to dig deeper. And yeah, like with the hypochlorhydria, we see that all the time with H. pylori too, right? Where you're just lowering your stomach acid. You eat that beautiful healthy diet, but then you're well fed but malnourished, and sort of definitely a theme that we see with people that have low AMH and high FSH. Okay, and so you have got a free guide here for them: Transform Itchy, Flaky Skin. And where can they find that guide, and I'll have a link in the show notes, and what can they expect in that guide?
So in that guide, I go over like things that it can change on a regular basis, change or optimize to kind of like help their skin stay well. Things like, what to pick, like hydration. And I give clue about like how many cups of water you should drink a day and why water is important for you, like movement, stretching, exercise, breathing, breath work. We don't talk about breathing that much because it's supposed to be involuntary, but we need to do it correctly. I talk about, your skincare routine. What do you have in there? What you don't want to have in there, and what to look for when you go to the store. Label reading. So just basic thing, and gut health, nutrition. What kind of foods to avoid? What kind of foods to add? Just things that I wish I knew years ago about my health. Just things that we all should know about to stay healthy and have skin health.
They can find that at theholisticskincoach.com/clear-skin, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. And what are some final thoughts for us today on our subject?
I kind of went over a few things that I want to touch upon, which is already kind of, it will be in my handout, in my guide. So cleansing skin, hydration, eating healthy, avoiding harsh chemicals, managing stress, regular exercise. But I like to talk about regular exercise because we always think regular exercise means going and pounding the machine for hours upon hours. And what I finally realized is when I started functional medicine, I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I knew this. And I kind of knew because I had a patient that came in, had psoriasis, had autoimmune diseases. And it's like, but I work out. It was all buffed. And I'm like, but something is not right. Well, excessive amount of workout causes more stress. More stress can lead to more inflammation. More stress can cause more insulin resistance. So back to what I always say, my new motto, moderation, simplicity. So you want to exercise a brisk walk, especially if you go for a walk like in the early morning or late afternoon when the sun is out and you get some sun, which also helps with circadian rhythm and it also helps with your vagal nerves and all that stuff. So you want to have a balance, not too much, and something that you can be consistent at. If walking 10 minutes, 15 minutes or walking your dog is consistent, then do that. It's better than nothing. Sedentary life does not help either because that also makes you have insulin resistance. Gentle cleansing, again, like I said, don't use anything that's going to strip your skin. Use something that is mild, staying hydrated, not just moisturizing your skin, but also making sure you're drinking enough water. A lot of us moisturize our skin and spend the most expensive stuff on our skin, but we don't drink water. Healthy diet, talk about antioxidant. Omega-3 is very important for the skin. And when I say antioxidant, I just want to talk about this a little bit. Sometimes everyone want antioxidant. No, we want a balance. We want oxidation, I want antioxidant. We want inflammation, I want anti-inflammation. We want a balance because that also causes hormesis. That means a balance in the body so the body knows what to do when it needs it. And then avoiding harsh chemicals, I already talked about that. Things like the phthalates, the lauryl sulfate, the paraben. And today is actually good news. I heard that the FDA or the EPA approved taking away some PFAs, forever chemicals from products. I just read it on EWG, so I'm excited about that. They can also go to EWG, which I have in my free guide, and it's a good place. I don't endorse them, but sometimes it might be a good start to see what is good and what is bad. I like to always make my own decision based on what I read. So I go on their list and I go, okay, this is bad. What is bad about it? If it makes sense, then cross it out.
Yeah, their skin deep database. Definitely check out your products. Sometimes you're like, this is good, but maybe it's greenwashing and it's not good.
Yeah.
So yeah. Awesome.
Exactly.
Great. Well, anything else for us before we?
No. So what I do, what I do is I help, I guide busy women with inflammatory skin disorders to heal their skin. And I like to do, what I love about it is that it's optimizing simple things. Sometimes we think it has to be grandiose and this big thing, and I have to exercise and I have to, no, it's just simplifying what you do. And what I try to do is optimize my clients, sleep, hydration, nutrition to guide them to be healthy and have skin radiance.
Awesome. Yeah. When you work on those foundational pillars, diet, sleep, movement, stress, and that's what shifts the needle. Sometimes we think we got some fancy things, right? Obviously we're using testing and digging deeper, but we sometimes will miss the foundational pieces. And so we're doing food diaries and being able to check to see what people are doing. Cause sometimes we get busy, we get off track, and maybe we're having a little more potato chips or more sugar or more like I do dairy and gluten and no corn, but doesn't mean that I don't go down a sugar party sometimes. I try to do organic sugar, all the rest of it, but we all know that's not a good thing, right? So, yeah, it is about being kind to yourself, and the biggest thing, like we said in here, is the stress, and so to get some sort of
Just called me
technique.
out on it. So today we just finished fasting. Today's our last day,
Oh,
but
right,
it's
yeah, yeah.
Ramadan. So today's Eid, and I came home. And I was like, okay, I need to get ready for this. And I was like, what am I going to eat? I'm like, I don't have time to cook, but I bought baked sweet potato chips from Costco
Right?
with salt and avocado oil. I mean, I had to pick and pick. I'm like non-GMO, but
Yep.
that's not the best thing. I was like, this is not a good breakfast. But I'm like, I just want to eat something right now.
I know, right? You're
I
like,
don't usually eat breakfast, but I was just like, it's Ramadan, it's Eid. Let me celebrate somehow. So that
yeah,
was my
yeah.
celebration.
I
But the
know.
other thing I want to do is I do see clients one-on-one in Nevada.
Oh, you're in Nevada.
And I go deeper into like the skin inflammation, but everywhere else, I'm a
Awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
And yeah,
you.
definitely check out the holisticskincoach.com /clear hyphen skin. And we'll have that in the show notes. And thanks again. Take care.
Thank you.